Welcome to Sports Podcast.
Picture one of the most recognizable athletes on the face of the planet.
Right.
A man who has, conquered basically every major football league in Europe. He's won multiple Ballon d'Ors, lifted the Champions League trophy 5 times.
He's your absolute legend.
Exactly.
Oh.
Now picture him sitting on the bench, completely unspooled, like his head is in his hands and he's visibly holding back tears.
Yeah, that's a rough image.
It really is. And that was Cristiano Ronaldo on May 14th, 2026.
Wow.
Yeah. So the mission for today's deep dive is to figure out exactly how a meticulously crafted championship narrative can just completely evaporate in a fraction of a second.
It's fascinating how quickly it can happen.
It is. We're looking at a pretty gripping dispatch from the Saudi Football League detailing this incredibly chaotic, high-stakes match between Al Nassr and their bitter rivals, Al Hilal.
The stakes could not have been higher.
Right. And to put you in the right headspace for this, imagine you're running a marathon. You've pounded the pavement for 26 miles. You're exhausted, but you can physically reach out and touch the ribbon at the finish line.
You're right there.
You are right there. And on the literal final step, you inexplicably trip over your own feet and faceplant right into the concrete.
Oh, man.
And nobody pushed you. You just sort of collapsed under your own momentum.
Yeah, that physical collapse is actually a perfect mirror for the psychological collapse we see in the final moments of this match.
Yeah.
Because the margins between securing a legacy-defining title and, well, just descending into complete chaos are microscopic. I mean, we tend to view a long football season as this grand, sweeping narrative, right?
Yeah, like the better team naturally rises to the top over 10 months of play.
Exactly. But the reality is far more terrifying for the athletes. You have millions of dollars in investment, months of tactical preparation, and the historical legacy of a player like Ronaldo, all just suspended on the razor's edge of a single, localized moment of human error.
It's crazy to think about.
It really is. It's a harsh reminder that pressure doesn't just forge diamonds, it regularly pulverizes stone.
Pulverizes stone. I like that.
Yeah.
Because, the stakes here really are the engine driving that pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
Ronaldo isn't just playing out his retirement in Saudi Arabia. Securing his first domestic league title in the region is a massive validation metric.
Right. It's the proof of concept for his entire move to Al Nassr.
Exactly. Every time he steps onto the pitch, he's carrying the weight of that expectation. And that weight transfers to every single player wearing the same jersey.
It's contagious.
Which is why the climax of this game is just, it's so difficult to process. So let's unpack this. Let's look at the spatial dynamics and the exact timing of what happened.
Okay, set the scene.
The clock is at 97 minutes and 50 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, deep into stoppage time. The referee is literally checking his watch. Al Nassr is up 1-0. They are quite literally 10 seconds away from effectively putting one hand on the league trophy.
10 seconds. I mean, consider the physical reality of the pitch at that specific moment.
Right, they have to be exhausted.
Completely. After 97 minutes of intense football in an incredibly demanding climate, your tactical discipline degrades. The defensive shape is no longer about, fluid movement. It's about pure, desperate survival.
Just hanging on for dear life.
Exactly. Players are operating on depleted oxygen levels, cramping muscles, and this overwhelming surge of cortisol. The penalty box isn't a football pitch anymore. It's a mosh pit.
A mosh pit?
Yeah.
And into that mosh pit sails a long throw-in from Al Hilal.
Yeah.
And this isn't some precision pass. It's just a hopeful heave into the penalty area.
Just throwing it into the mixer and praying.
Right. And this is where the Brazilian goalkeeper for Al Nassr, Bento, makes a decision that basically alters the course of the entire season.
Yep.
He rushes off his goal line to deal with the ball, and he completely misjudges the flight, awkwardly punches it, and instead of clearing it away from danger, he punches it directly toward his own goal.
Oh, it's so brutal to watch.
It is. He basically tees up the 1-1 equalizer.
Yeah.
And the report we're looking at specifically calls his action reckless.
Well, what's fascinating here is that it is the defining moment of the match, but to really understand it, we have to strip away the emotion.
Okay.
We have to look at the physics and the neuroscience of that specific penalty box.
Walk me through it.
Bento had a clear, unobstructed alternative, which was inaction.
Doing nothing.
Doing nothing. The trajectory of a long throw-in is relatively predictable. He had heavily fortified defenders positioned there specifically to head the ball away.
Right. His center backs are right there.
Exactly. By leaving his line, he introduced a volatile, unpredictable variable into a stable defensive equation. The safest, most statistically sound course of action was to stay planted on his line and let his defenders do their jobs.
See, I'm struggling with that, to be entirely honest.
How so?
You are talking about an elite professional goalkeeper. Bento trains for that exact spatial geometry thousands of times a week, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So his muscle memory should be completely automated at this point. Why would his brain consciously choose the most complicated, dangerous action when doing absolutely nothing was the correct play?
Right.
Are you saying a professional athlete just, forgets how to play his position?
No, he doesn't forget his training. His brain actively overrides it.
Wait, really?
Yeah. What you are describing is a textbook manifestation of action bias under extreme cognitive load.
Action bias, okay.
When you are the goalkeeper, your core identity is built around being the ultimate savior of the team. So in the 98th minute, with a championship practically on the line, the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain responsible for calm, rational, long-term decision-making, it basically gets hijacked by the amygdala.
The fight or flight center.
Exactly. The adrenaline screams at the nervous system that doing something is inherently safer than doing nothing.
Okay, so it's like hitting a patch of black ice on the highway.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Yeah, your absolute best chance of surviving that skid is to take your foot off the pedals and just let the car glide.
Inaction is the key.
But because you are terrified, your survival instinct forces you to aggressively slam on the brakes and wrench the steering wheel.
Which is the exact action that sends you spinning into the ditch.
Except
That is the precise mechanism at play here. The human brain, in a state of high anxiety, hates passive observation. It feels unnatural to stand perfectly still when a threat is looming.
So it wasn't really a tactical choice at all.
Not at all. Bento's intervention wasn't a calculated football decision. It was an adrenaline-fueled panic response. His basal ganglia, which houses all that automated muscle memory you mentioned, was suppressed by this sudden, overwhelming need to assert physical control over a chaotic environment.
Wow.
He slammed on the brakes on the black ice.
When you break it down like that, it really makes you realize how vulnerable elite performance is to just basic human neurobiology.
It's incredibly fragile.
It is. But I want to pull the lens back a bit, because analyzing that 98th minute mistake in a vacuum feels kind of incomplete.
Oh, for sure. A football match doesn't start in stoppage time.
Right. If we rewind the tape to the first half, the architecture of that panic attack starts to make a lot more sense.
It's the butterfly effect of a 90-minute game. You really cannot untangle Bento's mistake from the events that preceded it. The pressure of the 98th minute is entirely manufactured by the inefficiencies of the first 90.
Yeah, and there's a glaring moment from the first half that totally sets the table for all of this.
The Ronaldo shot.
Exactly. Ronaldo finds space and unleashes this massive signature strike, the kind of shot we've seen him bury 1,000 times.
The vintage Ronaldo strike.
But Al Hilal's goalkeeper, Bono, pulls off an absolutely brilliant reflex save to deny him.
And the contrast there is just jarring. You have Bono executing a flawless technical maneuver under intense pressure to keep his team alive in the first half.
Right.
And then, an hour later, you have Bento fracturing under the exact same pressure. But the tactical implication of Bono's save is the real story here.
How so?
Well, by keeping Ronaldo off the score sheet in that moment, Bono denied Al Nassr a multi-goal lead.
Which fundamentally changes the defensive posture of the team.
Exactly.
Because when you are only up by 1 goal, you don't have a duffer. You are walking a tightrope without a net.
It's terrifying.
Think about the last time you had a major presentation at work, right?
Okay.
If you finish your slides 3 days in advance, you have a massive buffer. If your laptop crashes the morning of the presentation, it's annoying, but you can recover.
You have room to breathe.
Exactly. But if you are still typing the final slide as you walk into the boardroom, you've stripped away your margin for error.
Yeah, a minor technical glitch suddenly becomes a fatal catastrophe.
Right. And that lack of a buffer completely alters a team's tactical shape.
It does. When Al Nassr failed to secure that second goal, they were forced to drop their defensive line deeper and deeper as the clock ticked down. They invited Al Hilal into their half.
They just surrendered possession.
Completely. They stopped trying to win the game and started trying not to lose it. And when you park the bus like that, you are actively inviting the opposition to throw the ball into your penalty area.
You increase the frequency of high-stress events.
Precisely. Bono's save in the first half didn't just keep the score close. It practically guaranteed that Bento would be tested in a chaotic, crowded penalty box in the final seconds.
Wow. So seeing Ronaldo on the bench after the final whistle blows makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, he gets it.
He isn't just reacting to a teammate's error. He is processing the entire chain of causality. He is bearing the weight of his own missed opportunity against Bono.
He knows, probably better than anyone, that if he simply finishes that chance in the first half, Bento's awful punch in stoppage time doesn't matter.
It just becomes a funny blooper reel clip in a comfortable 2-1 victory.
Exactly. But elite athletes are haunted by their own highlight reels of failure. The agony of delayed gratification here is just profound.
Yeah, because he came to this league to plant his flag.
Right. The narrative was written. The trophy was effectively being engraved. To have the reality snap back to a 1-1 draw is an immense psychological blow. And remember, that blow isn't isolated to the players on the grass.
No, the emotional contagion in that stadium is instantaneous. You saw that spill over immediately.
It was wild.
But tension wasn't contained by the touchline. The stands basically became a battleground, with clashes breaking out between the supporters of both clubs.
Yeah.
The raw, unfiltered anger of the 98th minute just ignited the crowd.
Well, a football stadium is a highly volatile emotional ecosystem.
Oh, for sure.
The spectators do not generate the emotional weather. They absorb it directly from the tactical posture of the players on the pitch.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
When Al Nassr dropped deep and started defending with desperation, the fans absorbed that anxiety. They felt the tightrope swaying. For 20 minutes, 30,000 people were collectively holding their breath, physically tensing their bodies.
Just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Right. So when Bento's punch lands and the ball hits the back of the net, the match ends. But that massive accumulation of adrenaline and cortisol in the fans has nowhere to go.
It's an involuntary physical reaction.
Exactly.
They are primed for this euphoric release, and instead they get a shock to the system. So the clashes in the stands aren't just about rivalries.
No.
It's thousands of people experiencing an acute stress response simultaneously and processing that sudden adrenaline dump through aggression.
Precisely. The emotional whiplash of the crowd is a direct neurological mirror of the players collapsing on the pitch. The tactical breakdown creates a psychological breakdown, which in turn creates the physical chaos in the stands.
Man, it is a dark, heavy atmosphere to process.
It really is.
And seeing Ronaldo cry makes it feel like the season is officially dead and buried. Yet, if you strip away the tears and the crowd violence and just look at the cold, hard mathematics of the league table.
They haven't actually lost the war.
Right. The standings tell a wildly different story than the emotions on the pitch do.
And the ability to compartmentalize that emotional trauma and look at the empirical data is going to be the defining test for Al Nassr's coaching staff this week.
Because the math is actually still in their favor.
It is.
Let's lay out those numbers. Despite this massive, gut-wrenching setback, Al Nassr is still sitting in first place. They hold a 5-point lead over Al Hilal.
Which sounds great on paper.
Right. If you just read the league table without knowing about the 98th minute disaster, you would assume they are in total control.
They are in control, but that 5-point gap is a dangerous illusion.
Because of the game in hand.
Exactly. Al Hilal has played one fewer match than Al Nassr. Assuming Al Hilal wins that extra game, which, given the momentum shift, they will be fiercely motivated to do, that 5-point cushion instantly vaporizes into a 2-point margin.
So functionally, Al Nassr is just clinging to a 1-game advantage.
Exactly.
Which sets the stage for an incredibly tense season finale. Because it all comes down to the final match.
The final boss.
Yeah. Al Nassr controls their own destiny. They don't have to watch the scoreboard. They just need to win their last game against a team called Damak, and the title is theirs.
Right.
Now, Damak is currently fighting a relegation battle. They're fighting to survive in the top tier of the league.
And this is where tactical reality violently collides with narrative expectations.
How so?
Well, the casual observer sees the team in first place playing a team near the bottom of the table and assumes it will be a coronation. A victory lap.
Oh, right. Like it's a guaranteed win.
But any seasoned tactical analyst will tell you that playing a team fighting relegation on the final day of the season is a nightmare scenario.
Because they aren't going to play clean, open football, right? They aren't going to try to match Al Nassr pass for pass.
Absolutely not. A team fighting for its professional life, for the livelihoods of its players, does not care about aesthetics.
Yeah, it's about survival.
Damak will park the bus. They will deploy a low block, putting 10 men behind the ball. They will turn the match into a physical bruising brawl.
Just ugly football.
Very ugly. They will waste time, break up the rhythm, and try to drag Al Nassr down into the mud with them. Because Al Nassr is fighting for a silver trophy, but Damak is fighting for survival. Desperation is a far more potent tactical fuel than ambition.
It's the difference between fighting someone who wants to win a gold medal and fighting someone who is trying to defend their home from an invasion.
Exactly.
Damek is backed into a corner. And, there is a fascinating tactical imperative hiding beneath this final matchup.
What?
Given what just happened, how on earth is Al Nassr's goalkeeper going to react?
Oh, the psychological spotlight on Benzio will be blinding.
Blind.
Think about the very first time Damak earns a corner kick or launches a long throw-in into his penalty area. Every camera, every fan, and every single one of his own defenders is going to freeze and watch what he does.
Right. The action bias we talked about earlier, is he going to overcorrect?
That's the danger.
If he stays frozen on his line out of fear and gives up a goal, the narrative writes itself.
Yeah.
But if he rushes out to prove he isn't afraid and misses again, his career at the club is essentially over.
It's an impossible situation.
The trauma of the 98th minute is going to be sitting on his shoulder for the entire 90 minutes against Damak.
That is the ultimate burden of the elite athlete. You have to step back into the exact same spatial geometry where you experienced your greatest professional failure, and you have to execute your muscle memory flawlessly while your prefrontal cortex is screaming at you.
Man, it really brings everything full circle. We started out talking about tripping on the very last step of a marathon. And what we've unpacked today shows just how easily the ground can fall out from beneath you. We saw how the lack of a tactical buffer born from a brilliant save early in the match created a localized pressure cooker at the very end.
A perfect storm.
And we broke down the neuroscience of how an elite athlete's brain can literally short-circuit under the weight of expectation, turning a routine defensive play into a catastrophic mistake.
The amygdala hijack.
Exactly. And then we explored how the emotional volatility of the players acts like a virus, infecting the entire stadium and turning the stands into a battleground.
The emotional contagion.
It is a stunning look at how fragile success really is, and how quickly a narrative of triumph can unravel into raw panic. It really makes you realize that anytime you strip away your own margin for error, whether you are a world-class athlete defending a one-goal lead or just someone trying to navigate a high-pressure deadline at work, you are inviting disaster.
Absolutely.
The moment you start celebrating before the clock hits zero is the exact moment you are most vulnerable.
So true. Which leaves us looking toward that final match against Damak.
Right.
I mean, we understand the math, we understand the tactical nightmare of playing a desperate team, and we understand the heavy psychological baggage Al Nassr is carrying, but the defining variable remains hidden inside that locker room. Think about this. When Ronaldo and his teammates step onto the pitch for the final time this season, will the suffocating trauma of that 98th minute collapse paralyze them with the sheer terror of making another mistake? Or will the agonizing heartbreak of having the trophy snatched from their hands serve as the ultimate combustible fuel they need to finally break their opposition and claim the championship?